Project Elect, enthusiastic leaders engaging in changing times. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Robert Hall. I serve as the chairman for Project Elect Mississippi, which is enthusiastic leaders engaging in changing time. It's an honor to be back, and you can see we haven't posted in a while because we wanted to wait until February, which is Black History Month. And once we got to thinking about Tupelo, Mississippi, surrounding counties, and Black History Month and how special that is. And a couple of years ago, we interviewed Attorney Mayfield, and we saw how it was to be the first at something. And we wanted to find a very special person for this interview, and we have none other than Ms. Homerzell Law. Did I get that right, Homer?
You got it.
I threw that in on you. Did you think I did that?
You did.
So it's an honor to be here talking about leadership, talking about Black History Month, and what African Americans and Blacks has done over the years.
Yeah.
One of the things about you, how does it feel to be the first African American Black person to work in City Hall in the city of Tupelo?
Oh, Robert, and thank you and Project Elect for this opportunity. I appreciate it. I can remember that phone call that I got in 1976 from a former instructor from ICC when I'd gone to take a class there. And she called and said, they need a Black person to work at City Hall, and I thought of you and recommended you.
You said they need a Black person?
That's what she said.
Okay, all right.
They needed a Black person to work at City Hall. And she thought of me and called to see if I would be interested. And of course, I'm from Hernando, Nez, Mississippi, DeSoto County, the youngest, very, very protected by my family and everything. So had no idea what all was involved in working at City Hall, what that meant or whatever. But it was another opportunity for me as far as a job. So I said yes. And I will remember being interviewed by David Long.
Okay.
On a Saturday, because that was the only time that I could go. So we met on that Saturday, and he asked me to come on my lunch break on that Monday, and I met with he and Mayor Whitaker. And he hired me on the spot.
What year was this?
1976.
Wow, so you're telling me in 1976 was the first time that a Black person was able to work inside City Hall?
Yep, that's correct.
Now, I understood earlier there were people like working on the street department and things. That
Oh,
were
yeah.
out, but
Definitely.
not inside City Hall.
No, not inside City Hall at all.
That is so interesting.
Yeah, yeah. It was interesting. Once I got there, and I'm just sharing this because this is just part of the challenges that I had. The lady whose place I was taking, it was in the purchasing department at that time, and David Long was my supervisor, going to be my supervisor. She would not train me.
Wow.
He sent me out there to her, and she said, "You'll learn it on your own." And I smiled and said, "Okay, thank you, I will." And I had to. And that helped me because I had to learn all the aspects. I didn't know what all I would be challenged with or faced with. So I learned everything that I could. In purchasing, every department called us when they needed equipment or supplies or whatever. So I had to learn how to do all of that. The requisitions, invoicing. I did it on my own with the help of the Lord.
And so anytime that we're in a new job, we usually have a training person.
That's right.
And I wanted the young people to really hear this today. And so you were brought in, number one, just because you were Black, and then the other challenge was actually being a female.
That's right.
But now, on top of the pressure, you had to learn this job
I had
on
to
your
learn it
own.
on my own. I did, Robert.
So what do you say about that challenge and how you handle your attitude? You could have easily said, "This is not going to work," walked out. How did you handle that?
Well, I give God the glory for that because I just received the Holy Ghost and He was empowering me. And when I would get discouraged or, just had people to not respond the way that I thought they should, I would just pray. And God gave me the strength every day to come back. It would have been easy to quit.
Wow.
But, growing up, my mom was a very strong-willed person. My dad was right there with me, and I'm the youngest of 18 children, grew
Oh,
up
my
with
goodness.
15.
Wow.
So seeing my older siblings, what they had accomplished, and knowing that they would not want me to quit or fail. And I didn't want to quit or fail or anything. So you just do what you have to do. And one thing that I realized, being the first black there, my success determined whether or not they would hire any other blacks.
Wow.
You know, I was the example. And I was, even though people may say it's not true, I was being looked at as to whether or not they felt comfortable hiring another black. And I'm so happy to say that they did hire someone else there in
Well,
City Hall.
I wanted to personally just give you my appreciation and to thank you for
Oh.
not quitting, because I had the opportunity to work for the city, of course, you know, but I think it's people like you that we walked in the footsteps in order to get those opportunities. And so I know that you did that. How long did you actually work there?
34 years.
34
34 years.
So 34 years.
Yeah.
And so now, even after you retired, what year did you retire?
In 2010.
Okay. So you did not quit.
I didn't quit.
You retired from the city of Tupelo, but
Yeah.
you didn't quit working. And so now you enter into is it president and CEO of the Norfolk
Executive
City?
Director.
Executive
yeah.
Director. Okay.
They call it Chief Executive
Chief
Officer.
Executive Officer. Okay.
Which is the same thing
Wow.
as an Executive Director.
And so actually you're doing some things with the Boys and Girls Club that has made history there,
Oh,
because
Lord.
I think the Boys and Girls Clubs in North Mississippi recognized nationally.
We have been.
And you've just been recognized as, I think, by the Boy Scouts as for your efforts. And
I was. Thank you. God has just blessed me. That's all I can give the credit to, because I don't see myself doing anything extra, anything special. It's just doing what needs to be done and not complaining about it and trying to be an example to others.
so, in that being said, I know that being the executive director of the Boys and Girls Club, you actually just got recognized as being on the banner of the Ore and Dunn Museum.
Yeah.
As for your works, not only in the city of Tupelo, but for what you've done, and I call it nationwide.
Oh,
You know, I call it nationwide
Thank
because
you.
people look at Mississippi like, you know, it is tough,
Yeah.
but the endurance that you have done.
well, it's because I've surrounded myself with wonderful people like you.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, you know, I'll call you and say, okay, what do you think about this? But just being around people, and I always say, I'm not afraid to hire somebody smarter than I am. If I know I don't know how to do something, I have no problem with asking. So when you surround yourself with people who are supportive of what you're trying to do, and for me, I went from having one boss at City Hall to having a whole board of directors
Wow.
as my boss, and working closely with the board chair, who was my immediate supervisor. So just knowing that you've got to be able to show your abilities to a whole board, no matter how much that number is, that, for me, it inspires me to do my best. And you know, I still have that concept of, okay, who's coming after me? Am I being an example? Whatever. Because I'm going to retire from this one too at one point.
That's awesome. So on top of that, I do know, and you don't have to indulge in it long, but I do know you actually became a black business owner.
I did.
Okay, so this is now we've come all the way from the first black in City Hall all the way to executive director, a black business owner, and I got a couple more things after that. So what do you say that people that's wanting to indulge in black business here in this area?
Know what you're getting into.
Okay.
That's the first thing. I got into this because of my son, Jason. He lives in Birmingham. And they have restaurants that are called Tzatziki's, Mediterranean cuisine. There was not one in Tupelo or Mississippi. We were the first in Mississippi to bring Tzatziki's to Tupelo. And Rob Hudson, who owned the McDonald's chain,
right.
when he heard that I was doing this, he said, Zell, restaurant business is hard. And I said, I don't plan to work in there, you know. So that was my concept, not realizing what he was talking about was the ownership of it, making sure everything was right, making sure you had the right staff, making sure that nobody's stealing from you, whatever. And so Jason nor I could constantly be there in the restaurant. We had great staff, and it got to the point where it was just more than we could handle. So we eventually transferred ownership to another Taziki's owner from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. But I love it that we owned that business for 7 years.
Wow.
And had employment, and some of the people, they've left and they've come back or whatever, because it was a great atmosphere to work in, we've been told. But that's been wonderful. And I miss it. I ate there Sunday, as a matter of fact. So, but
Wow.
it was interesting being a business owner.
And there's so much to talk about with Ms. Zell Long, and I'm going to go. And we've talked about the things that she may have gotten paid for, some of the things she's got half paid for, but now I'm going to talk about the things that you don't get paid for. And I can personally say from your experience, and I read in Proverbs all the time, it talks about the experience and the people, what God allow us to go through. You have gone through some things, and so when I was going through an ordeal, and I know there's hundreds of others that you have taken your personal time from your experience. How does your faith play a role when you see these things happening? Do you feel like just drawn? Because you came to me as a moment when really nobody else but you could handle that moment. So can you just talk about your faith and how that guides you?
Well, I mentioned I was brought up in the church. My mom was a Christian and made sure that we went. She didn't send us. She came. We went with her. So I've been in the church all of my life, and I think you can evolve as a Christian. And in years 75, 76, I learned about the Holy Ghost and being filled with it, and God did that for me in 1976, which took me being baptized in Jesus' name. And from there, the Lord has just really been my constant source for everything in every circumstance. And seeking His face, I laugh because I'll say when I go to board meetings and I'm the only minority in that room, my prayer is, Lord, let me go in and let me say something that makes sense, not look foolish or whatever. And He does. Wow. He does. So when I came to you, Robert, it's because the Lord had just given it to me to go and try to be an encouragement to you. And I always try to obey when I get that. So my faith has taken me through so many things: sicknesses, divorce, crises at work, whatever I've encountered since those years. My faith has been there to keep me.
Well, I'm glad you didn't quit.
Thank you.
And so the last thing that I'll say is that I know that you are very talented.
That's an opinion.
I know that your upbringing in the church allowed you to sing gospel music, and even just a few years ago when we were celebrating some Elvis events, and we put together a mass choir.
Right.
Yeah,
I love that
a unity choir here. And so
it.
you were actually one of the lead singers on that. And you can actually find that video on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
Now, that video has gone all over London and Europe.
Really?
And all of this. Yeah, so you're
I can
out
tell
there.
my children.
So the video is
That's
actually
awesome.
out there. And so we're Project Elect again, and we're celebrating Black History Month, and we wanted to bring a legend, an icon to our set today. This Homerzell Long. Now, Project Elect is enthusiastic leaders engaging in changing times. And what we try to do, we want to pour communications and conversation into the community, whether it's education, whether it's healthcare, whether it's spiritual. We want to be a platform to bring information to the disconnected community. And so, Ms. Zell, is there anything in closing that you would like to say? I just want to tell you that we really appreciate you. What last word would you have to the young people out there? Anything that you want to say?
Well, before I get into that, I'm going to get you for using my full legal name.
I want to be
Homerzell.
Yeah.
Nobody in this area knows me as Homerzell. They do now. And I'll tell you, because Charles Pinson did that Tuesday night, and I'll tell him, my legal name is Homerzell. But when I moved here, after JB and I married, I'd introduce myself, Homerzell. What? Homerzell. What? So I cut it short to just Zell.
Wow.
And that's how I'm known in the community. So I would tell a young person, and as I mentioned earlier.
And I will say some old people too. We need
Oh,
to know.
oh.
That's right.
Oh, be prepared. And I say that over and over and over again because as a black individual, African American, whatever, people of color, it's required based on how society is that we have to know what we're doing. We can't go in and expect people to look over our mistakes. We've got to be prepared so that we make as few mistakes as possible.
Wow.
We've got to know before we get into that meeting what's going to be discussed or whatever. Be prepared to have people not like you when you're standing up for what's right or you're doing a little bit more than they're doing. Let your faith take you through that time. And prayer will strengthen you to where you may be the only one. But if it's the right thing to do, do it. And then I'll say go out and find you a mentor, mentors, more than one. Somebody that you can talk to, that you can express your frustrations with, who's going to tell you, okay, you get it out and go back in there and keep fighting or whatever, because that's so important to surround yourself with people who understand what you're trying to do. That's my message. And mother of 8 children, that's why, just.
That is well said. And
Thank
so
you.
I was just sitting up here thinking, the Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Mississippi is North Mississippi.
North Mississippi. Right.
Wow, that's even bigger. And so anybody that need to know anything about that, they can look you guys up and,
Sure.
and talk to you about that. If you, I'm sure you don't mind maybe having a phone conversation with someone that just want to know a little bit more about you.
Would be glad to. Our number, Boys and Girls Club, is 662-841-6504, and it gives you a list of names you can call, but I'm extension 2. So give me a call, but we would love your child, ages 6 to 18 years old. We pick up after school in Tupelo, and we've got provisions in Tupelo, New Albany, Ripley, and Oxford. Gotcha. So we have a total of 5 clubs, and we do a summer program where we're there from 8 to 5. And we would love to have your child come and learn and be and grow and be that citizen that they will be growing up to be.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well said. We want to thank Journey Medical Training Center, which is a facility that we are in, and there'll be more coming to the audience for that. We certainly want to thank you for not quitting.
Thank you.
I heard that. You said just don't quit. So
Don't quit.
Thank you for paving the way. Thank you for being an icon. We know that things haven't been easy for you, but you managed always to come through. So thank you for being you.
Can I share
Sure.
something on how the Lord has blessed? So you talk about challenges. In 2015, this is when Jason and I had the restaurant. I was working at Boys and Girls Club, so I was putting in like 12-hour days, 13-hour days, because I'd go to the restaurant. And in August of 2015, I had a stroke.
Oh, wow.
They said I was at work getting ready for a board meeting, and my legs started getting stiff and getting heavy, and one of my daughters came, and by the time I got to the emergency room, I could not move that leg, and the doctor said I'd had a moderate stroke. My children, my daughters, they were there, and they would not let me see myself in a mirror because of the twisting of my mouth and whatever else. But I prayed, I said, God, no matter what, don't let me lose my ability to sing, to worship you and to praise you. And I'm so thankful for the outpouring of love that I received, not only from my family, but the community. I can't tell you how many flowers and things I got before I left the medical center. But thank God that the therapist there, they were able to assist me. So I left and recovered to where I am now. And I have been better, but I stopped exercising. But not only that, I'd had this mass. God has delivered me from 3 malignant tumors. One was a mass on my scalp. One was breast cancer. And then when I had the stroke, they did an x-ray and they saw a spot in my chest and said it was a spot on my thymus gland. Never knew what a thymus gland was. but it was malignant. So I had to have that removed, which is like open heart surgery. People see my scar and they think I had open heart surgery, but it was to remove a malignant thymus gland. But God has blessed me, no chemo through any of those 3 cancers.
Wow.
So I'm a living testimony of what God can do, and He's still blessing. So I just want people to be encouraged.
Wow.
No matter what comes, hang on there. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
So thank you for letting me share that.
And I know that we're going past our time here. And I
Oh,
hope
I'm sorry.
No. But you just brought up something else. And when you brought up everything that you've been through health-wise, and
a divorce.
And so people say you don't look like what you've been through. I can look at you and tell you that you don't look like what you've been through.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And so then
much.
you brought up the health care and all of that. How important is it to you for our black race, our black population, to pay more attention to our health?
Listen, my children stay on me because of my weight. I've been this size, Lord have mercy. But I lost weight once. I did it on my own, just after a diagnosis of diabetes with a stroke or whatever. So it can be done, but if you're not healthy, you can't do anything. You may have goals, you may have money, whatever, but if you are not healthy, taking care of yourself, if you have managing high blood pressure, if you got diabetes, taking care of yourself, believe in God, but taking care of yourself. That's the main thing.
Well said. There you have it, folks. Zell Long. I will not say Homerzell Long.
It's fine.
This is our Black History recognition for 2024, and I don't think we could have done any better. So
thank you.
Thank you, Project Elect. Thank you, Roosevelt Ford, for this film. Roosevelt, I have to give a shout out to him. His business is growing, and when you was talking about black business, he is one, and he has the attitude to do that, and I think he's going to go to a level that he's never seen before. So with that being said, you guys have a great day. We know we'll do snippets of this on Facebook and on Project Elect website. And if we don't be able to get it all on, we're going to do snippets, because I think this interview is so important, it's so historical, that we as African Americans, young, black, old, you name it, we need to know about this story. Thank you, and until next time, see you soon. Bye. Project Elect, enthusiastic leaders engaging in changing times.